When do I have to stop giving prompts to this UI designer? Why can't he understand what I'm saying? I'm looking at this reference, it's modern. Why can't he see that it's modern? If you found yourself in this situation, this video is definitely for you. I'm Nataliia Hera, one of the co-founders of Voger Design Studio and UI Mother. We've been designing audio software and hardware since 2010 or 11, and I want to share my opinion on the topic whose fault when you are not satisfied with the user interface or any graphical work result. Because my role as a UI design agency owner is to provide better experience for my clients. So I am putting myself as a client as well, and I know what I'm talking about. Which is why I'm going to show you my example, how I work with graphical designers and how I choose strategies, how I set priorities, how I fail, because pain is, it's obvious. It's always gonna be with any creative project. Pain is inevitable. We can either minimize it or learn how to deal with it, right? The reason of pain is not that you're not satisfied with the result. Psychology says that the reason of pain is the undesire to spend more money, because every cent you pay basically sets you in pain. And we are going to talk about how to minimize that pain, right? Let's take a look at my example. So I have this brilliant idea. I have this YouTube channel that I want to launch. And, I've figured out, okay, I want to make it about the evolution of user interfaces. From the depths of the beginning of the design era to this modern user interfaces, to this modern era of graphical design with vast of possibilities, right? And I have this idea. It was inspired by an amazing group. I'll show it somewhere here. And basically, I am deciding to move forward with an external graphical designer, external motion designer. So I'm taking this route of hiring a graphical and motion designer. And obviously, I have to put down all these ideas of mine into some sort of a technical specification. Basically, this is what you typically do when you are hiring a graphical designer, user interface designer, motion designer, whatever. Basically, the principle I am about to tell you works for every designer connection, for every creative work connection. So let's take a look. Let's take a sneak peek at my technical specification. I'm having it here. So this is as brief as as breeze. My clients are more specific in their desires. They are really better than me in this situation. So let's take a look at what the external graphical designer comes with an idea. So they are choosing the path, just simply what I'm doing in my UI design studio. So they are giving me some sort of a wireframe or a mood board. So they're having this kind of idea showing to me, and me as a person not involved in this kind of work, I'm looking at this result, and well, guys, they are showing me something that I'm not sure what to expect from it. I'm not sure which direction is it going. So I have my more or less audio evolution criteria more or less visualized. I have more or less colors visualized from what is considered to be a little bit of analog, sorry guys. And well, it's more or less, obviously I'm giving some iterations in order to correct my branding a little bit, because obviously this is the work of my user interface designer, my 3D designer, and I know what to expect. I know how to control this. I've done a pretty good job at managing the 3D part. But let's see when the outsource and internal resource that I've been dealing with for the last 10 years are coming together. And here we have two examples that me as a user interface designer is not pretty much convinced. Whatever do I choose, it's not that what I wanted. I'm here in the same very position my clients are ending up when they are not quite satisfied with the result. So it's okay, it's pretty nice, it serves a purpose, but it doesn't serve my purpose. Both of the results, one of the results are pretty close. And here we come to the most important question that we are asking ourselves. Who am I on this project? Am I an art director here? Am I a visionary here? Am I a performer here, micromanager, or, well, who am I on this project? But the more important question is who I have to be on this project. And obviously, guys, if you're looking this video, if you're a graphical designer, well, I'm a graphical designer, right? Or I'm an art director, right? Okay. But if you are a client on a project, you have to choose a specific type of role. Basically, you're a project initiator. Your core goal is to look outside of the production system and see the changes. So the project initiator is the visionary of the project. He has to deal with all the distractions from the world. He have to react to the world changes. He have to be the strategic leader of this project. For the project to be successfully performed, we have a role of project manager, we have a role of researcher, UX designer, UI designer. This is for my team, delivery designer, 3D designer. In a motion world, there are different roles. And again, I'm thinking to myself, who am I on this project? Obviously, I'm an initiator, and I don't have to do any of those works that are inside the project circle. And I'm not skilled enough to give feedback to any of those roles. If you consider yourself too much of I'm skilled enough, trust me, guys, if you've done more than 10 projects, like managing that kind of work, then you are skilled enough. At least like on a beginner level. If you haven't done any of this work, you are in a big, not a trouble, but you would experience turbulence. And you would experience your growth as an initiator here. So let's get back to what I've done on my project. So once I realized that my role as initiator, I've sat down and made something that many of my clients try to avoid. Okay, tell me, who want to do a brand research? Who want to do a competitor research? I have this really good reference. When I'm entering the room of my husband, when he is choosing the snare or a drum snare, it's like a nightmare for me. I can hear almost the identical sound, and he's doing it repeatedly. But he's doing his great job at picking the right sound for his project. While we are not skilled enough, we are not trained, we don't like this kind of job to choose the right references towards our brand, towards our animation examples, or for example, what type of knob do we have? Do we need to have on this project? Or what type of materials do we have to have on this type of project? So we are not pretty skilled with that, and this is kind of job that we don't typically like. And I also avoided this on my project. So I made the same mistake that people that are initiating projects. I'm spending precious time, and I do feel your pain when you are spending your time on something that you don't want to do. And and you're not experienced enough in that. So you can't feel satisfied when the result is great when you've done your job. I also running through a pain of finalizing the criteria that are important for me. Here I wrote for you a couple of my criteria and a couple that ChatGPT kindly generated to me. But the very first 5 are the most common criteria that are important for you personally and for your company. Don't identify yourself with your company, because when you identify yourself with your company, you definitely will make the wrong criteria, because the company goals and your goals are different. For example, my personal goal is to minimize my time on spending on doing the research, while the company's is to make the research as deep as possible in order to choose the best criteria, the best examples for this kind of work. So you have to bear in mind, if you are a project manager on a company that you're working, you have one criteria and you have to realize that your company has another criteria, and you have to deal with both of them. While you are a company owner, probably your criteria will be the same, like to make the right impression, to minimize the budget costs. And for me, for example, personal as a company owner, yes, I have to minimize the budget cost. I have to make this iteration for the result as less painful, as less expensive to me as possible. My core criteria is to make the right impression and to minimize the budget. Okay. And of course, to minimize my time, my personal time, but unfortunately, I have to abandon this criteria. I have to work on the impression and budget in the first place. And here we come to basically the strategies. You have to remind yourself what your role on a project and what you want to be on this project, because we have different strategies. Whether you decide to become an art director on the project, or if you decide to be a director. This is a better goal, trust me. Being director is a little bit easier than to be an art director. If you have experience to be an art director, then when you're choosing the art director path, being a project initiator, then probably you will end up either lucky or somewhat with small iterations, closing up the project pretty much successfully. If you don't have enough skills, the specific skills, art direction skills, then you are ending up in a rabbit hole. You are ending up in the place when you are given prompts to your designer and you are frustrated. And guess what? On the other side, the designer who gets all your constant feedbacks, iterations, he is in a cortisol stage. And basically he is doing what? Right, he's doing the following. He is dealing with his cortisol. And the cortisol is the thing that makes any creative work impossible. I know, guys, you are smart. You will definitely understand what I'm speaking about. But, and you definitely knowing that you are causing stress to the graphical designer. But you don't realize that, causing stress to a graphical designer reduces your chances for better user interface. And sometimes it works. Sometimes, you have to give a pretty good kick to a designer for him to sober up and to make some work. But it won't work in a long run. I separate the graphical designer from a client by a project manager who get all the stress and tries to give a nice feedback to a designer to encourage him to make better work. But in this case, I'm a client, right? So in this case, I've chosen the path not to be an art director. Instead, I've done this kind of hard work that typically clients don't do because it causes pain as it takes time. So if you are a skilled art director, you bring your time and value baggage to the project, and you spend less time on this project. If you are not skilled art director, but you are product owner, you have less time and less value baggage prior to this project. So you will spend more time on it, learning how to do things. When you choose a graphical designer as an art director as well, you have to consider the qualification of the graphical designer. I'm giving you just a glimpse of what I consider to be a scheme of qualification, I call it. So basically you have 2 types or 3 types of graphical designers you want to work with. It's a topic for another video, but there's enough information for you to at least think about, have you made a right choice choosing this particular designer? Probably you would need to hire a couple of designers to test your ideas. Also, we need to remember about the motivation of the project. Who is the most motivated person on this project? Sometimes it's you, sometimes it's not. Well, if you look at the scheme, basically we all start with money as motivation. Then we go higher to identity, to some kind of ego motivated people, then professional motivated people, and then we come to highest motivation when people are society driven, wherein their motivation are on the highest level. On a project, it's typically a business owner on the highest level of motivation. So you need to consider that as well, because when you're thinking that you would motivate your designer with only money, sometimes it's not the case. And sometimes your bad result is crushing down on you just because you've hired a person with the motivation you didn't consider to be in the first place. That's also a case. You might ask me how to avoid this. Well, an interview might help, but testing in real work is the best scenario, is the best case to see whether it's working for you or not. If you're looking at this scheme of motivation, if you are feeling that I'm not quite correct with it, let me know in the comments. I also want to know your professional opinion on that. And let's take a look whether the designers are good enough, well, to make the necessary iterations. Write me if you've had any of those impressions or feelings when you are watching this piece of graphical information. A professional impression, humane impression, modern, slightly retro, and evolution. Let me know in the comments. I am pretty satisfied with this result because it cost me only $100. So from this to this, only $100, and only 2 days of my work and a couple of hours, a couple of hours for a graphical design, for motion design team to look through my videos, my references, and understand how to, with minimal efforts, make the necessary result to make it more modern, from retro to modern. If you've had experience with working with expensive studios, with big studios, do they have the same problems? I recall this book, something like Taming Tigers, and basically they are talking about the same problems, whether you're working with a freelancer, a small studio, or whether you're working with a top-notch studio. They do have same problems. we all have same problems, and my clients also have same problems because they some of them are working in a musical industry, they are doing works for others as well. So it's about strategy, and it's about meaningful communication. It's about communication with your clients, basically building a relationship or whatever. And I think this is the end of the episode. I want to thank you for reaching till the end. And until the next time.